each of the forms, each of the 5 cubes has to have a different direction of light. Second thing I am looking for is that you can layer your pencil smoothly and neatly. So remember on our value scale when we layered our pencil different directions? You need to do that again here. And I want it to be nice and clean edges, so you might have to go back and erase edges if you go out of those edges. The third thing that I'm looking for is that you follow the rules for adding values to forms. And these rules I want you to write down on the side so you do not forget them. For a form that has a flat side, the first rule is each side is a different value. Second rule, and this is actually true for all forms, it is that your cast shadow is opposite the light source. We're going to add one more rule. The third rule is the lightest value is closest to the light source. Each form will have a different direction of light. That's requirement number 1. Requirement number 2, you will layer your pencil smoothly and neatly. And requirement number 3, you will show me that you understand the rules for those forms. Flip your paper over. Let's look at our rounded forms. We have cones and cylinders. Cones and cylinders are round. So there's a gradual shift in value. So for these, there's a gradual shift in value. Still, our cast shadow is opposite of our light source, and still the lightest side or area is closest to the light source. So let's start with a cube. I'm going to start with this cube. And I'm going to say my light is shining on this side of that cube. So my cast shadow is going to run opposite. Cast shadow is our darkest value. Remember to hold your pencil kind of at a side. So using the side of the pencil and do kind of light layers. This side that's closest to my light source is going to be the lightest side. Then I'm going to move on to the other side. I'm drawing my lines horizontally, vertically, diagonally, layering them lightly over top of each other to create a smooth layer of pencil. But this value has to be different from the first value that you drew in, because each side on a cube is a different value. And then I'm going to move along the top. Look at your cube. Look at the sides. Make sure you have 4 different values. If you need to, take your kneaded eraser, touch it down to lift some of the values if you want it lighter. This one, move on to another cube. I'm going to have my light coming on this side. So the cast shadow is going to extend out the back this way. My cast shadow is my darkest value. The side that's closest to my light source, this side is going to be my lightest value. I'm layering my pencil multiple directions. If it gets too dark, I can use my kneaded eraser. Press it down, lighten it up. And move on to this side. It's a different side, so it needs to be a different value. Then I'm going to move on to another side. And I'm darkening out my cast shadow so that all three sides and the cast shadow are different values. Take a look at your cubes. Are all three sides a different value? Is that a different value from your cast shadow? So for a cube, I'm looking for 4 values. So on my pyramid, I'm gonna have my light coming on this side for this one, which means my cast shadow is going to go out this direction. My cast shadow is my darkest value. And my lightest value is the side closest to my light source. The next side. To check these off, once again, you need a different direction of light source for the 5 forms in that section. So I can use the same direction as I used here with my cube on my pyramid. Different direction of light for each of your 5 forms in that section. Layer your pencil smoothly and follow the rules for those forms. Okay, let's take a look at a rounded form. Let's start with the cones. And we know for a cone, we're gonna have a gradual shift in value. That means there's gonna be blending. I'm gonna start with my light source on this cone coming from the side. My cast shadow is gonna be back here, opposite of my light source. But the darkest area on the cone is gonna be right about here. And it's gonna be in a triangular shape, because value follows form. So it's gonna be kind of in a triangular shape because a cone is kind of like a triangle, but 3D, right? And it's not gonna be at the edge because the light can creep around the backside and come around to here. So I'm gonna add my value to my cast shadow first. Your rounded forms should have 7 different values, your entire value scale. In order to check these off and get full points, your minimum of 5 is like the minimum point to have 5 different values. So I'm going to start here. This value is not going to be as dark as my cast shadow, but it's going to be my darkest value on my form. And it's going to be kind of in that triangular shape. Larger at the base, thinner at the top. Then I'm going to keep adding value, getting lighter and lighter as I move towards my light source. I may need to come in with my kneaded eraser and erase out that lightest value right on the edge by where the light source is. And then I'm gonna go back. This part needs to get gradually lighter as well. It just won't get as light as the highlight or light source. So gradual shift in value. For your rounded forms, you've got to blend that value. I don't want to see any stripes or edges. I want it to gradually change as it gets lighter or darker going across the form. I also still want to see a nice smooth layer of pencil. So when I look at this cone, I can see one value here. So I've got 5 on my cone right now. 6 would be my cast shadow. If I want to move it to 7, I've got to make something darker or lighter to get it to 7. 7 is your goal, 5 is what will get you checked off. A cylinder is going to be similar to a cone, except a cylinder has a flat edge. That flat edge works like a cube. It's one value across the entire flat edge. So on this cone that I have laying down, that's the same. It would have one value because that is flat. So it would follow the rules of the cube or the pyramid. If I have my light source coming from this side, my cast shadow, it's going to run out the opposite side. That's going to be my darkest value for the drawing. And a cylinder is very much a rounded form, so it needs to have, we're going for 7 values, including the cast shadow. It will have to have 5 to get checked off. I'm going to start with my darkest value and move towards the light. You might want to do some diagonal lines, maybe some horizontal, just help smooth out your pencil. Then we'll go back the other direction. I can use my kneaded eraser if I need to lighten up my highlight or lighten up any of my values. Clean up my edges. You're going for 7 different values, a minimum of 5 to get it checked off. And don't forget, the flat part of the cylinder is one flat value. One flat value. It does not shift along with the rounded area of the cylinder.